My name is Pavel Hejčík from the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, and I will be your moderator for this event. The topic of the event is synergistic approaches, which is directly related to the UNEA 6 resolution proposed by Japan and co-sponsoring countries, aiming at promoting synergistic approaches to address the interlinked global crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss and pollution, and support sustainable development. Our lineup of speakers here today is ready to provide you with more insight into the content of the resolution and present concrete examples of actions that demonstrate the power of synergistic action. We will also talk about useful policy measures to promote synergistic approaches and its challenges. At the end of the event, we will hold a short Q&A session to answer your questions. So without further ado, let me invite His Excellency, Mr. Takizawa Motome, the State Minister of Environment, Japan, for his opening remarks. His Excellency, the floor is yours.
皆さん、こんにちは。日本の環境副大臣の滝沢求でございます。本日、環境省と IGES が主催するシナジーアプローチの推進に関する公式サイトイベントにようこそお越しいただきました。日本環境省を代表し、心より歓迎を申し上げる次第でございます。また、今回の我々のシナジーアプローチの推進に関する決議案のスポンサー国となっていただいたノルウェー、カナダ、チリ、スイス、ノルウェーの皆様方も改めて御礼を申し上げる次第でございます。
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Motome Takisawa, and I am the State Minister at the Ministry of Environment, Japan. Welcome to today's official side event on the promotion of synergistic approaches organized by the Ministry of Environment Japan and IGES. On behalf of the Ministry of Environment Japan, I would like to extend a hearty welcome to you all. I would also like to thank Fiji, Canada, Chile, Switzerland, and Norway again for co-sponsoring our draft resolution on promoting synergistic approaches.
さて、一昨日夕方に行われたナショナルステートメントにおいて、私から日本はシナジー推進のリーダーとしてコスポンサー国であるフィジー、カナダ、チリ、スイス、ノルウェー、そして国連と協力しながら取り組みを進めていく決意と、その機運の醸成に尽力していくことを宣言いたしました。今回のサイドイベントは、これからシナジーの推進のために取り組む同志とも呼べる方々とともに、具体的な事例を通じて、シナジーアプローチの重要性について理解を深め、各国の取り組みに貢献するために開催いたします。
In the national statement made yesterday, I declared that Japan, as a leader in the promotion of synergies, is determined to promote initiatives in cooperation with our co-sponsors, Fiji, Canada, Chile, Switzerland, and Norway, along with the United Nations, and that we will strive to build momentum for the initiatives. This side event is held to deepen the understanding of the importance of synergistic approaches through concrete examples and to contribute to the efforts in each country, together with those of the same spirit who will work on promoting synergies.
我々が直面する気候変動、生物多様性の損失、そして汚染という3つの危機に対しては、別々に対応するのではなく、統合的な解決を目指すシナジーアプローチが重要でございます。これは SDGs の精神でもあります。SDGs はそれぞれのゴールを同時に達成するために、ゴール間でのシナジーを最大化することを求めています。SDGs を達成するためのシナジーアプローチの重要性は、昨年、日本が議長国を務めた G7 札幌気候エネルギー環境大臣会合や G7 広島サミットのコミュニケでも明記されております。
We're facing the triple crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. It is important to have synergistic approaches aiming at integrated solutions rather than taking individual measures. This is also the spirit of the SDGs. The SDGs call for maximizing synergies between goals in order to achieve each goal at the same time. The importance of synergistic approaches in achieving the SDGs was clearly stated in the communique of the G7 Ministerial Meeting on Climate, Energy, and Environment in Sapporo and the G7 Hiroshima Summit, both of which were chaired by Japan last year.
日本では気候変動と生物多様性のシナジーを実現するための好事例が数多くございます。このイベントでは、コスポンサー国の皆様からも、それぞれの好事例について発表いただく予定でございます。さらに、このような好事例は、コスポンサーの5カ国や日本以外にも様々あると思います。また、本日は科学、美術、途上国での開発援助の観点からも発表いただく予定でございます。ぜひ皆様方の国の好事例も集めて、世界に広めてシナジーを推薦していきましょう。
There are many good examples in Japan on how to achieve synergies between climate change and biodiversity. Co-sponsors of our resolution will also present their good practices at this event. I believe there are many other good practices besides those of the 5 co-sponsors and Japan. We will also have presentations today from the perspectives of science, business, and assistance in developing countries. Let's collect good practice from each country, disseminate them around the world, and promote synergies.
これからのシナジーの推進に向け、実りある議論ができればと思います。最後に短い時間ではございますが、このサイドイベントでぜひお楽しみください。これを機に皆様との友好が深まり、力を合わせて、シナジーを進められることを記念申し上げて、私の開会のご挨拶に返させていただきます。ありがとうございます。
I hope we will be able to have a fruitful discussion to promote synergies in this event. This side event is a very short event, but I hope you will all enjoy it. As I end, I hope that this will be an opportunity to deepen friendships and combine efforts to promote synergies. With this, I conclude my greetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And next, I would like to invite Dr. Patricia Botte, Director from the Law Division of UNEP, to offer her remarks. Ms. Botte, the stage is yours.
Honorable delegates, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, our kind host from Japan, good afternoon. As the director of the Law Division at the United Nations Environment Program, I am glad to speak to you as we reflect on our collective journey towards a resilient and sustainable future. My gratitude extends to the government of Japan, not only for your hospitality, but also for your proactive leadership in addressing the interconnected environmental crisis we face. We live in an era marked by the urgency of climate action, the loss of biodiversity, and the pervasive threat of pollution. The need for a synergistic approach to action is more pronounced now than ever. The draft resolution which Japan presented is not a mere call to action, but a blueprint for transformative change. It underscores the essence of synergy, the belief that the collective efforts are greater than the sum of our individual actions. UNEP has long championed the idea of synergies. We support countries to implement multilateral environmental agreements by promoting synergies across thematic clusters of multilateral environmental agreements. And we have seen firsthand the power of collaboration and the joint outcomes it brings. We are committed to promoting synergistic approaches, like with the data reporting tool, that's DART, so that all countries and stakeholders can benefit from shared experiences, knowledge, and the mobilization of resources. The resolution proposes a multifaceted approach. It emphasizes integrating scientific findings into policy making. This is in line with our work on strengthening science policy interfaces. The resolution calls for the enhancement of cooperation across all environmental governance levels and advocates for the alignment of efforts under various multilateral environmental agreements. This holds true to our environmental governance program. As we discuss this resolution, we must acknowledge the intricate tapestry of challenges that it seeks to address, the pressing issues before us. They are deeply intertwined with socioeconomic factors that affect the very fabric of our societies. We are tasked not just with the stewardship of the environment, but with the reformation of economies, the way we live, work, and interact with nature. It is a task that requires innovation, foresight, and an unwavering commitment to the principles of sustainable development. In this spirit, UNEP has taken active steps to support member states. Through the Montevideo Environmental Law Program, we provide technical assistance, capacity building, and a suite of other services to create enabling conditions for environmental protection. Our goal is to strengthen legal and institutional frameworks, to strengthen science policy interfaces where scientific research informs policy, where policies promote science, and where actions to implement MEAs lead to tangible benefits for people and planet. Let us not underestimate the complexity of the path we have chosen. The resolution represents a consensus that is still evolving, a document that is alive with the potential to shape our future. As we fine-tune our approach and refine our strategies, we must remain adaptable, responsive to new information, and open to diverse perspectives. As the director of the Law Division at UNEP, I'm particularly cognizant of the legal and institutional frameworks that underpin environmental actions. It is through these frameworks that we can foster the partnerships and collaborations essential to our mission. In closing, to our host, Japan, I extend UNEP's heartfelt appreciation, not only for hosting us, but also for your foresight in proposing a resolution that guides us towards a more cohesive and effective response to the environmental challenges we face. Together with UNEP, with UNEP's continued support and the active involvement of all stakeholders, we are embarking on a path that promises a brighter, more sustainable future for all. Thank you for your attention, your dedication, and your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mbote. And now I would like to invite several speakers to the stage. They will share with us the details of the resolution as well as concrete action of synergistic approach on the ground, particularly from Japan, Chile, and Fiji. After these presentations, we will ask for reflections from a scientific point of view. So first, I would like to ask Dr. Kawamata Kotaro, Director of the International Strategy Division of the Ministry of the Environment, Japan, to come to the stage and have a seat. Next, I would like to ask Ms. Constance Nalegach, the Head of the International Affairs Office of the Ministry of Environment of Chile. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Sivendra Michael, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, Fiji. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Megumi Muto, Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, commonly known as JICA. And next, I would like to ask Dr. Janez Potočnik, Co-Chair, International Resource Panel, and former European Commissioner for Environment and Science. We will start with Dr. Kawamata, who will deliver the framing presentation and introduce the content of the resolution. Dr. Kawamata, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and dear my colleagues. And I'm Kotaro Kawamata from Ministry of Environment, Japan. And I was leading the negotiation on this resolution on synergies. And I'm so glad now that everybody, delegates agreed on this resolution and waiting for the adoption in the afternoon. And I would like to explain that why Japan submit this resolution, and also what the contents of this resolution in my presentation. So first, this is colleague from UNEP also mentioning about the triple planetary crisis we are facing. So climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, that is interconnected problems. So of course that we have UNFCCC and CBD COP, and also now we are negotiating the new plastic pollution. But as these issues are really interconnected, so not only tackle through these MES, but also we need to enhance synergies among them. And also last year, SDG Summit was held, and evaluation of the progress on SDGs, that was unfortunately, the evaluation says that we are not on track. So we have to accelerate our actions to achieve 2030 goal. And also many, scientific body and also science policy body warned us that, and also stressed the importance of synergy. IPCC AR6, just released last year, says that the many mitigation and adaptation actions generally have multiple synergies with SDGs. Also, potential synergies with SDGs exceed potential trade-off. So there's a merit to pursue synergies. And also, the Global Sustainable Development Report, the issued just before SDG Summit, and one of the authors is a Japanese professor, Professor Kanye. And this report also highlighted the importance of optimizing synergies among different entry points for transforming to achieve the SDGs. And also, I explain later a little bit, but UNDESA and the UNFCCC has initiated the international conference on strengthening the synergy among the Paris Agreement and the SDGs since 2019. And last September also, under that conference, that they formed that expert group, and that group issued the report called that Global Report on Climate and SDGs Synergies. And it also mentioning that seeking win-win synergies by tackling the climate and the sustainable development crisis together is the only way to correct the course we are on. And also IUCN report on global biodiversity outlook, they call for nature positive economies. And in order to realize nature positive, we need to promote circular economy and net zero. Last December, we had that COP28 in Dubai, and the synergies also highlighted in the agreement decision in global stocktake. And it says in the preamble that urgent need to address in a comprehensive and synergistic manner the interlinked global crisis of climate change and biodiversity loss in the broader context of achieving the SDGs. And also in the mitigation section and the international cooperation also highlight the synergy, importance of synergies. So last year, as I said, we had that review of that SDGs achievement and also global stocktake. With the global stocktake, we evaluate that progress made under the Paris Agreement, and the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was adopted 2 years ago, and but still, this COP16 in October coming, but still only a few countries submit their national biodiversity plan, strategy, and action. So also, as I said, plastic pollution negotiation is initiated, and this year we are expected another 2 international negotiating committee and come to agreement. So SDGs goal, the limit is only 6 years ahead, and also in 2050 we have the vision for net zero, ambition on net zero, or living in harmony with nature, and also we need to realize circular economy. As I said, that UN Climate and SDGs Synergy Conference happened. Actually, we hosted the 3rd conference in 2022 in Tokyo. And the key message from that conference is that the first, breaking down silos. So we all tend to be in silo, climate change silo, biodiversity silo, plastic silo, but we have to break that silo and to engage those activities in a holistic and integrated manner. But the question is, still a bit vague. How to realize that synergy? So we need to collect that good practices, evidence, based on the scientific findings. So also we need to involve various stakeholders to realize such kind of synergistic action. So in summary, the reason, motivation why we propose the synergy resolution, I can explain 3 things. First, that to encourage countries to accelerate their efforts to achieve the SDGs by 2030 by fostering a common understanding that enhancing synergies is the key to overcome triple planetary crisis. The secondly, to promote efforts to identify specific policy measures to enhance synergies based on scientific knowledge. And the third, to develop guidance for policymakers in collaboration with multilateral partners in implementing tangible policies on enhancing synergies. So I would like to explain about the contents of the synergy resolution to be adopted in this afternoon. So it encourages member states to enhance synergy, cooperation, or collaboration as appropriate for implementing their respective obligations and commitment under MES and other relevant environmental instruments. And also enhance knowledge and understanding of the potential co-benefits of synergies, cooperation or collaboration, by increasing efforts to collect and share good practices and foster information exchange. So in order to help those activities by member states, we request to UNEP assist member states to enhance synergies, cooperation, collaboration, and also collect, synthesize, and share good practices, tools, success stories, and lessons learned among member states, relevant partners, and stakeholders through relevant existing regional and global platforms, and building on existing initiatives to improve synergies, cooperation, or collaboration. And also, we asked UNEP to report back to next UNEA 7. So this is a summary of the synergy resolution. To save time, I don't repeat all those things, but I just would like to thank our fellow co-sponsors. And now we'll have that Michael from Fiji and also Guri from Norway. So I'm very grateful to have them, and also would like to promote synergies with them as an implementation of this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kawamata. And next I would like to share a video message from Mr. Michitaro Watanabe, Mayor of Nasushiobara City, featuring an example of good synergistic action from Japan. So that was example from Japanese city of Nasushiobara. And then I would like to ask, I would like to invite Ms. Nalagach to share example of synergistic approaches from Chile. Let me add here that the Republic of Chile is a co-sponsor country of the resolution. Ms. Nalagach, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all fellow panelists, colleagues, friends. First, allow me to express my heartfelt gratitude for this invitation. Unfortunately, we had to excuse Maisa Rojas, the Minister of Environment of Chile. As you might know, Chile has been devastated by the worst wildfires to date. This was just a couple of weeks ago, and the consequences are severe, both to human health, lives, nature, and biodiversity. These wildfires and other extreme events are a backdrop to the topics of today's events. The ongoing and interconnected crisis of climate change, of biodiversity loss, and pollution is exacerbating a multidimensional risk. Globally, we experience extreme weather events, drought or flooding due to changing precipitation patterns, loss of important ecosystem services, and contamination of air, of water, and soil. The crises are interconnected to a degree that is currently impossible to address only one or a few aspects. The approach must be synergistic. This translates into the fact that an integrated approach to the public policy mitigation has to deal with absolutely the three crises. In this sense, we stand in front of a unique opportunity for coherent action, and the resolution presented at this union is precisely shedding light on that opportunity. Please allow me to express again our gratitude to Japan and our congratulations. As examples of synergistic approaches in Chile regarding the triple crisis, I want to highlight two main drivers and concrete examples of implementation, but through the governance approach. Chile has defined socio-ecological just transition, and we understand that this is the process of transformation and adaptation of social cultural systems towards ecosystem balance, people's well-being, and sustainable production models within this framework of the triple crisis, and ensuring a focus on human rights, equality, and decent work. In 2010, we created the Council of Ministers for Sustainability as part of the new environmental institutional framework, which created the Ministry of Environment, the National Permitting Agency, and the Compliance Agency. And the Council of Ministers is primarily a political body chaired by the Ministry of Environment, but with the participation of 11 other ministries. These are the Ministry of Finance, Economy, Development, Energy, Education, Transportation and Telecommunication, Public Works, Health, Agriculture, Housing, Social Development, Mining, and Science, Technology, Knowledge, and Innovation. And this council coordinates all the political efforts related to the environment, and most importantly, assure integral and transverse action among public policy. The second driver is the overarching right of human rights and gender balance. We believe that human rights and the environment go hand by hand. We can't have human rights if you don't have a healthy environment. And in this sense, we need to assure access to and participation in environmental matters and to secure access to environmental justice. The triple crisis first and foremost affect people, most vulnerable people. And we must assure that our efforts target people in an informed and sound manner. To accomplish this approach, Chile ratified the Escazú Agreement on Access to Information, Public Participation, and Justice in Environmental Matters. and we are currently working in a national implementation plan to assure the full and effective implementation of this agreement. The only environmental treaty in Latin America and the Caribbean. And maybe you know that it's the only legally binding international instrument with specific provisions to protect those who defend and promote the environment. Synergistic approaches to the vast environmental crisis that we're facing are not easy to accomplish, and Chile is not an exception. We also encounter obstacles. At the national level, we still need to assure the needed cooperation, but not only at a political level, but also at a technical level. We are gathering and implementing a number of committees and working groups on topics that in some cases overlap, and we need to be able to integrate the technical level in a more efficient way. In Chile, we're also implementing national strategies that combine, for instance, climate change adaptation and biodiversity conservation. But we need to increase action in the cross-section of the triple crisis. At the multilateral level, compliance is key. But with compliance comes reporting, which can also be a significant burden in some countries, especially in developing countries, with the consequence of shifting focus away from action. In Chile, we implement public consultation in all our multilateral reporting processes, which is important, but also burdensome. In this sense, synergies could be increased by simplifying the reporting process of multilateral instruments without losing data availability and enhancing transversal reporting on cross-cutting issues related to the three environmental crises. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Nalegaj, and we sincerely hope for quick recovery from the disaster that hit your country. Our next speaker is Dr. Sivendra Michael, who will speak about the opportunities synergistic approaches offer to the Republic of Fiji. Fiji is also one of the co-sponsor countries of the resolution. Dr. Michael, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, I would make my presentation from here. Your Excellency, State Minister for Japan, Ministry of Environment, fellow panelists, members of UNEP and Director General of SPREP, distinguished guests and esteemed moderator, big Bulavinaka to you all, which is a big warm Pacific greeting. It is indeed a privilege to be here with you to discuss particularly Fiji's partnership with Japan and the other proponents of this paper, the resolution that we worked very hard on till the early hours of the morning to get through. And it is a demonstration of our determination of why we want this. So I thought, maybe to focus my discussion on three key questions. One, maybe to explain what motivated Fiji to support the resolution, and this particularly from a Pacific small island developing states perspective, and how these synergies can be used to address the triple planetary crisis. Second, I will give you a very brief, there is a lot on the internet that's available, but I'll just quickly give you a very brief overview of some of the synergistic approaches we use in Fiji. And then third, I will just briefly touch on the obstacles as our our previous speaker has just spoken about. So why did Fiji initially agree to be partnering with Japan and become one of the co-sponsors of this resolution? For us, the use of synergistic approaches to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal and addressing the triple planetary crisis is very critical. We, on the onset, recognize that they are interlinked threats that compound each other and requires all member states to look at responses that address the interlinkages. The triple planetary crisis, ladies and gentlemen, and our responses to it will shape and define our collective future. Similarly, if we delay our efforts, it will hinder the near-term potential to achieve SDGs and to deliver against the UN's 2030 agenda, or to realize the collective commitments under the Paris Agreement, under the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and the other multilateral agreements that most member states are parties to. This has been highlighted by our moderator and also by Dr. Kataro on the gaps that we are behind, that we are not on track. One of the main things that I want to bring to your attention is that we must confront the issue of fragmented finance. The inadequate and disjointed allocation of resources, it poses a significant barrier into our collective efforts. This issue is not only an issue in the PCs, it's an issue in many developing countries as well. But for PCs like Fiji, which has very small government administrations, the burden of keeping up pace with UN commitments and the agenda is a monumental task. We need leadership within the UN, within our regional organizations, to recognize the challenge when it comes to engaging across various forums, agendas, and the separate agencies on issues that are deeply interlinked. We need more investment on action and practical solutions to avoid the less duplicative processes, or as Dr. Kataro has put it, the siloed approach, the overlapping agenda, and the fractured financing flows that we have. So what has Fiji done to date? We recognize that the current and future challenges that we face will continue to be a barrier. So we have pushed forward, as our member state from Chile has just mentioned, to move towards cross-sectoral plans and policies which speak to the root of the issues and threats we face. Each country, each region has their own contextual differences, so we iron out the root issues that are affecting us. Now, as we speak today, we are currently undertaking an integrated and multi-sectoral approach to formulate Fiji's new national development plan, which is aligned to achieving our global commitments, including the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda and our multilateral agreements. One classic example in terms of climate change, particularly, is we have outlined our deeply rooted issues, or the cross-sectoral issues that we have within our national climate change policy and our Climate Act of 2021. The framework actually establishes the mechanism for coordinating climate change and development issues at the national level, and it establishes climate change focal point within every ministry. So this creates enforceable guidelines for ministerial decision-making and also how budgets are done. As we seek to increase complementary and collaboration across the development issues, we have recognized the importance of planning and budgeting. So making sure that all the different ministries, when they're doing planning, they are integrating aspects of climate change, they're also costing it through climate budget tagging. So this is the synergistic approach that we are using with our Ministry of Climate Change and Environment. For oceans, through our national ocean policy, we also have established ocean focal points across all ministries. Why? Because we have committed to a 30 by 30 target, and we do want to scale up that target to 50% as well. That is linked to our biodiversity conservation climate target and also our climate change response agenda. Lastly, what is stopping us from promoting synergistic approach? As small island state with limited resources, I do not need to continuously talk about our limited resources, but it is critical that when we plan, when we design, when we implement, when we report, and when we monitor under the global agenda, that it is streamlined. We need reporting to be an incentive for collaboration rather than a fragmented exercise split between the mandates and the demarcations that make it much less attractive and makes it much more burdensome at the national level and then at the international level. We support the need to work with national, regional, and international partners to mobilize the necessary resources to make our engagement and commitment more integrated and synergistic. This was one of the biggest fights that me and Dr. Katoro was having across the many days. And lastly, to end, I would say we cannot afford to spend more time on dialogue like this, but we need to spend more time on implementation and action. We need more flexibility to recognize our national circumstance and the different and unique innovative approaches to addressing the underlying issues that are most common in our agendas and our work streams. And with these few words, I would once again like to congratulate the proponents of the Synergistic Approaches Resolution, the government of Japan, and its co-sponsors. Job well done, and this is going to be a milestone achievement going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. And excuse me. And next, I would like to invite Dr. Megumi Muto from the Japan International Cooperation Agency to share experiences with synergistic action in development assistance. Dr. Muto, the stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. Is the mic in? Okay. Excellencies, colleagues, great to be part of this very important conversation. I am from JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, the agency of the Japanese government. We do technical assistance, but also concessional loans. So typically, we cover activities like master planning, feasibility studies, and also finance the construction phase. So I will be talking a little bit about that implementation. Recently, internally, we have established the Office of Sustainability, and I'm the first Chief Sustainability Officer. At first, the immediate issue internally was working on the implementation of the Paris Agreement with our partner countries. Secondly, again internally, in JICA, we have to tell my colleagues and assure that climate change has co-benefits and we are not taking away resources from other SDGs activities. So we started doing these things, but that was only the beginning. With the advancement of the discussions regarding the triple planetary crisis, we realized that systematic thinking was necessary, maximizing synergies and minimizing trade-offs. So together with the Ministry of Environment, we set up a study team involving academia as well to look at potential synergies and trade-offs of climate actions in various sectors. Sorry for the complicated table, but at the left-hand side, you see the row on the climate action by sector. The column, yes. Vis-a-vis all of the SDGs. So you see that horizontally. The green cells are synergies. So everyone is happy. The yellow cell is complicated ones. We see synergies, but also trade-offs, so attention. If we look a little bit more carefully, sectors like transport, agriculture, and water, they have a lot of yellow cells. So these are the focus areas when we think about synergies and trade-offs. Here, let me share my personal experience. This is more on the water and also the adaptation and resilience nexus. I've been involved in the flood control of Metro Manila, Philippines since the 1990s. I'm a little bit old. So in my experience, I went through master planning, feasibility studies, financing, and monitoring, many phases of these flood control projects. Metro Manila of the Philippines, as you see, is a narrow stretch between sea and lake. There are several rivers in between that has historically devastated the capital through flooding. The initial project, that was in the 70s, maybe some of you were not born, was to divert water to the lake through a very simple floodway. You see that red kind of like a bright line over there. That was a very simple floodway to divert the flooding to the lake. At that time, in a sense, it was a nature-based solution using gravity. And at that time, once again, in the 70s, no one was worried about that the lake didn't have the absorption capacity. So everyone was confident that the lake could absorb the water, the flood water. But over the years, it became evident that in built-up areas, there was a need for a solid, concrete-based flood control dikes and levees, gates and water pumps. That was the reality. So we supported the Department of Public Works and Highways, DPWH, to build dikes, levees from downstream here to upstream. So the result, at the right-hand side, you see the comparison between flood area, number of affected people, and the value of damage with and without the flood control system. This was a real number driven from an intense typhoon that hit Metro Manila in 2000. Without the system, the number of victims was assumed to be 1 million. But with the system, the flood control system, it was in the 30,000. So both JICA and also the Philippine side, the Department of Public Works and Highways, we were happy about the result of this flood control system. But I was personally a little bit uneasy because I knew of the potential trade-offs. One is the impact to the diversity of the lake. The lake is over there at the right hand side. Impact to fishes and fisheries. But there was no solid science available at the time of the planning. The second potential trade-off is the social impact of the people who were relocated. People were usually living along the river line. Maybe if you've been to Asian coastal megacities, you have been, witnessing literally slums alongside the river. And we had to relocate those people in order to get the flood control done. Yes, the National Housing Authority had a program for resettlement, and I have monitored it together with social scientists. Typically, resettled families were like living, earning through, being jeepney drivers or being washing ladies. And I personally not very sure if the washing ladies, the mamas, could transit into better livelihoods after relocating. So I knew all these potential trade-offs. And through these experiences, we have to constantly learn lessons and strive for the better together. The other example that I wish to share here is a wind power project in Egypt. It was an area famous for seasonal bird migration, but also an ideal site for wind power. We knew from the beginning that there would be bird migration. So when we entered into the monitoring phase, we did a very focused monitoring on the number of birds in the area. And when the birds were spotted, there was a shutdown on demand practiced. So along the years, in 2018, there were, I think, 17 bird strikes, but in 2021, it has reduced to 4. So we are trying to do a lot better. One thing to note is that all this bird monitoring was done in coordination with the neighboring wind power plants financed by Germany, Spain, and of course, coordinated with our counterparts in Egypt. If you remember the last slide on the synergies, yes, in the SDG 17 cooperation, everything was green. So I would like to underscore at the end of my intervention that if we do more on partnership, we can advance so much on synergies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Muto. And now let me invite Dr. Janez Potočník from the International Resource Panel to provide reflections on the content of the resolution and the presented cases from the perspective of a scientist. So, Dr. Potočník, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, dear friends, by the way, it's my last appearance on the stage in these 14 days, so I'm really happy to be here. So I will actually divide my comments on 2 parts. One will be a very brief comment of what I have heard from you. Another will be explaining a bit more in detail what our scientific International Resource Panel thinks exactly about the theme which you are addressing and how it could be addressed best. So I was really pleased to learn about the agreement of Japan's proposed resolution on synergetic approaches for achieving the SDGs. It is a good start in the right direction. And I sincerely hope that this will be showing a clear way to something even more important, even more ambitious in the future. And I was really glad to hear that you have also agreed in the resolution to report to UNEA 7. So my congratulations to Japan and all who have associated for the topic which was chosen. The first thing which we have heard was the example from the Nasishi Biobara city that I hope was close enough. And I think it was actually a very excellent example because talking about nature positive, carbon neutral, and also circular city, it's really the right way to go. That would pretty much be advocated also by our scientific panel. And as a scientific panel, we are very much putting the urban design and the whole city story in our attention. So we have quite a lot of specific reports which are dealing and will continue to deal with those questions. It's pretty no-brainer. Why? Because you know that a lot of population is concentrated in the cities. So it means a lot of the problems it's concentrated in the cities, which also means that a lot of the solutions are concentrated there. And one of the important things when it comes to cities is also that they have a relatively autonomous governance. So if you have a good mayor, you can do a lot. And you basically don't need UNEA. But it's good to have it anyway. So from Dr. Catara from Chile, I think you were very right on putting human rights, gender balance at the top as the basis. It's extremely important if we want to talk about the synergies. But you also talk about collaboration, and a colleague from Fiji also talk about exactly importance of cross-sectorial plans and policies. So when we talk about collaboration, one important thing is to understand that we are actually the first generation on the planet which is living in socio-ecological space of planetary scope. We are more interconnected than ever, and our responsibility has individually and collectively enormously increased. So without collaboration in the future, we will not solve the problems. That's, I think, absolutely understood now to everybody. There are many things which are for global level and can't be dealt on any other way than we agree together that to deal with them. But when it comes to cross-sectoral plans, policies, collaboration, I think I'm also a member of the Club of Rome and Systemic. And when we have analyzed which are the main blind spots, we basically came to three conclusions. One was that we are simply looking to the solutions from a two-silo perspective. So we are missing a kind of systemic approach, which too many times then lead to the conclusions which are good for something, and like you were explaining, not looking at the trade-offs which basically are happening in other sectors and in other policies. So this is happening because of lack of knowledge, because of the governance, because our governments are simply organized like that, because everybody is looking in this sectorial way to how to solve their questions, but not really looking in coordination with the others. The second point was that we are not going enough, and this is one of the points which IRP is very much focusing on, to the drivers and pressures, not going to the natural resource use, so everything what we are using from Earth, as well as the market drivers which are leading consumers and producers' behavior. And the third was that we are simply not focusing enough on the demand and consumption side. We are too much believing that by only cleaning supply side we will do the trick, but it will not be enough, unfortunately. So this triple planetary crisis, as you have rightly said, they are indeed interlinked. And in the last approach from JICA, I think two things which were simply some music to our ears. It's basically focus on implementation and on systemic thinking. That's exactly the message you will also get from science. And the cases which you have shown are really nice examples because it's always easier to work when you work on synergies, but immediately when you work on synergies and trade-offs, the task is not so simple. But allow me now to comment everything also a bit from the scientific perspective. So as you might have heard, I'm co-chairing with my colleague from Brazil, Isabella Teixeira, International Resource Panel. And International Resource Panel, it's a kind of science policy interface in the area of natural solutions management. And we propose also all the possible solutions, but I will talk more about that. So we have our own convention, to be honest, but our scientific findings are critical for the success of all of them. Why? Exactly from the reasons this panel is trying to address. And I will explain that to you in the next few minutes. Today we have launched this. This is just before your session, we have launched it. It's called Global Resource Outlook 24. I dare to say most comprehensive assessment ever on trends in resource use, on drivers, pressures, crucially, also pathways for the future. A groundbreaking scientific document which is a kind of guide to a sustainable and just world, and also sustainable and just future. Our research is showing that the unsustainable resource use is driving the triple planetary crisis. So this is an important message telling us that also the resource-related solutions would have positive effects simultaneously on addressing all triple planetary crises, which is, I would say, we are a tailor-made science for your panel or for your resolution, because we are doing exactly that, what you have tried to put attention in your resolution. So extraction and processing of materials, that's everything extracted from Earth, is driving 60% of climate change impacts, if we include also land use and change, over 90% of land-related biodiversity loss and water stress, and around 40% of health-related pollution impacts. All unfortunately see an increasing trend. Since our last global assessment, which was 2019, in total global material use has increased by over factor of 3 since 1970, that is in last 50 years. If trends would continue, it is projected to grow from approximately 100 billion tons yearly to 160 billion tons yearly till 2060. The database used to pool the mentioned figures together, that's IRP's Global Material Flow Database, is already used to track progress on SDG 8, so Sustainable Development, and SDG 12 on responsible consumption and production. As well as holding us back from environmental SDGs, current resource use patterns prevent us also from achieving SDGs on equity, like SDG number 10 on reduced inequalities. The wealthiest benefit most from resource use and are also most responsible for most environmental impacts. Meanwhile, many low-income countries still do not consume enough material to meet basic human needs. So, in short, our consumption and production patterns designed by industrial world are wasteful and unjust. So if we do not change them, we will face increasingly severe environmental impacts while not having even basic human needs, unfortunately, met. IRP scientific attention is focusing on unpacking the drivers and pressures leading to those consequences, the triple planetary crisis. Our research is showing that we need a fundamental systemic shifts in how we use resources, away from wasteful, linear production and consumption systems towards circular, resource-efficient societies optimizing well-being for all. To avoid severe environmental impacts, breaking the links between ever-increasing resource use, economic development, human well-being, environmental impacts, so-called decoupling of economic and well-being growth from resource use and environmental impacts is a must. In high-income countries, absolute decoupling should be the aim, decreasing material use while maintaining or improving well-being. In low and some middle-income countries where additional material use is still needed to build up infrastructure and meet people's well-being basic needs, relative decoupling should be the aim. This is necessary and also just. What is the major novelty of a Global Resource Outlook 24? We are simply setting the order right. Economy was invented to serve humans and not the opposite. So we are looking at how to optimize provisioning systems, human needs, rather than maximizing the output of individual sectors. So we acknowledge the usefulness of GDP, for example, but we should be guided by well-being. We propose to focus on most resource-intensive provisioning systems, built environment, mobility, food and energy, which represent 90% of global material demand. So focusing on human needs would allow and incentivize cross-sector innovation and shifts to a more future-fit business models. In short, you don't need car, you need mobility, you don't need chair, you need to sit, you don't need light bulbs, you need the light. So that's basically the approach which we are using. Any transformation we see as a major business opportunity for those who are innovative, those who dare, those who understand the essence of the challenges ahead of us. And we should not simply accept that meeting human needs should be resource and energy intensive and stop stimulating extraction-based economic success. Supply-side policies, currently receiving most of the policy attention, should be complemented with demand and consumption-related policies, and resource efficiency policies should be complemented with sufficiency optic also. Our report in a sustainability transition scenario shows pathway how to improve environmental outcomes and also raise equality. Pathway towards sustainable resource use which maintains and enhances well-being and prevent crossing planetary boundaries is possible, but we must urgently change the direction. So, what are our main recommendations? I have no time to go into detail, but broadly we recommend to institutionalize resource governance and define a resource use path to direct finance towards sustainable resource use, which basically was also mentioned, to make trade an engine of sustainable resource use, to mainstream sustainable consumption options, and to create circular, resource-efficient, and low-impact solutions. To conclude, strong alignment in messages coming from IPCC, IPBES, IRP, GEO, and other scientific panels are all based on most comprehensive scientific assessments. They must be considered as a strong call of urgency. If we want to protect elephants in our nature, we must extinct elephants in our rooms. With decisive action and political courage, sustainable future is still possible. From year to year, this path is getting narrower, steeper. There are less and more urgent options on our policy menu. More than economic or technological choice, this is a moral choice. Future will be green or there will be no future at all, and only with synergetic approaches to overcome the triple crisis, connecting us in our joint quest to meet the agreed SDGs, we will be able to deliver the future we want. IRP stands ready to help you on this noble journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Potočnik. And now I would like to ask Dr. Kawamata for some closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you the sharing that your experience and also thoughts on the synergy by Chile and Fiji and also Japan. And I think the adoption of the resolution is just a kickoff. So we have to realize that our objective of the resolution with all stakeholders, so that you also would like to share your experience and get together. And as the implementation of the resolution, we would like to realize that, so that stay tuned. And also the comment made by IRP is quite important, because that Japan also are pursuing a circular economy pretty much, but still domestically the action of the toward the net zero mainly focus on energy side, not material side. So we have to bring up those circular economy concept into the climate change actions. And also, we are very much concerned on the low profile of the biodiversity issues. So that after adoption of the Kumi-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, still public or politicians' eye not well on biodiversity, rather climate change still. So that with this synergy thinking, we would like to bring up the attention to the biodiversity as well. And overall, environment is less attention paid by the politician public compared to the economic and social side. So that was that the Kenyan countries that are very much keen on raise the profile of the environment side as a host of the UNEP by Kenya. So I totally agree with it. So that with this synergy resolution, we'd like to realize those kind of things as well. So that is a key to realize that to address, overcome triple planetary the crisis, as well as to achieve sustainable development goals. So thank you very much for gathering today, and so let's tie together and work together to realize enhancing synergy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kawamata, and thank you all the speakers for your contributions, and also thank you all who joined us today. So this is the end of the side event. Thank you and goodbye. Are you okay? Oh, yeah, please.